Welcome to the O'Malley podcast show. What we will talk about, no one will know. So sit down and relax and learn some awesome facts. It's the Talk to O'Malley podcast show. With me. So welcome to the Talk to O'Malley podcast for another episode. I'm here with Patrick Sansom from Summit Safety Solutions, who's going to come and talk to us about the wonderful and exciting, it's actually quite boring subject, of health and safety. Yeah. Pat, tell us a little bit about, what you do. So for anyone who doesn't know you, what do you do?
So I am the MD of Summit Safety Solutions. We are a health and safety consultancy business dealing in what I'd say is standard health and safety. Then we do fire risk assessments and work in the construction industry as well.
Predominantly.
Cool.
Yeah. And then, why health and safety? I mean, to me, if I saw you on the street, I would say you look pretty boring, and I could probably place you on that. But from talking to you, I know you're not, and you're actually quite an exciting person. But why health and safety?
So I spent 23 and a half years in the military. And then towards the end of my military career, I was like, what do I do next? During my service, he's got lots of qualifications in leadership, teaching, but then wanted something different. And actually, a mate of mine said, I'm going to do health and safety qualifications to strengthen my standard qualifications. So I thought, I might have some of that. And then went to do NEBOSH, exam and everything else, teaching, and then I thought, I should tell you what, yeah. And then did my qualifications, left the army, went to start working in a laboratory, soon realised that's really boring.
In a laboratory? You need to elaborate a little bit more on that. I need to know about what you did in a laboratory.
Okay, so the laboratory I was working in, I was the health and safety guy.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so still the boring bit, but working with a lot of people that know the chemical formula to marmalade but can't open the jar, that type of thing. So really, really clever people. But then, because I'd done so long in the military, like every day was the same and followed the same car to work, and it become quite boring, quite repetitive. So then I thought,
what did they do in this laboratory? I'm sorry to drill down, but I'm really intrigued. when I hear something out of the ordinary, I'm like,
what did they? So even more boring, they used to test water.
Really?
So Southern Water, you get guys going out called samplers, and they would take water samples and then go back, take it back to the laboratory, and real boring people would literally test water.
One of someone I know is they do the engineering for Southern Water, I think. So still don't understand what it is they do. There's all these weird jobs that I'm learning about.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
That exists?
Yeah.
But I guess it's what we need to make the world go round.
So the thing is, like for instance, glass of water.
Mm-hmm. It did say drinking water on the tap, I promise.
Yeah. And it's a case of somebody needs to constantly make sure.
Actually, James, was that water, that's the one you filled up from the toilet, right?
Yeah.
Right, okay, that's fine.
You can see the floaty bits. So the laboratory would test both clean and wastewater to basically make sure it fits how it should do. And I was the health and safety guy.
So what? Everyone understands that you've got to have health and safety, and it's generally a tick box exercise to an extent. Now we've just had a trainer on who was training. And everyone says tick box exercise. Is it an actual tick box exercise, health and safety?
No, because here you go. So everybody says, well, that's common sense, right? Well, if everybody did what they're meant to do, I'd be out of a job, right?
Yeah.
And then, for instance, you mentioned toilets, right? Or just outside is a kitchen. There might be a sign that says hot water. And then people are like, that's obvious. But that sign has been put there because somebody's burnt themselves.
Yeah,
because there's a hot tap.
And to be fair, that water was extremely hot.
Yeah. So the thing being is then you need somebody to go, right, what is the hazard? Hot water. Is it really hot? You need to tell somebody. So yeah, that's then, and all these videos and signage, what you wear, is all down to somebody has had an accident before. And that's the reason why.
A bit like planes and a black box.
Yes.
Except we haven't got a black box.
We haven't got black box.
Because they're not right on time. If you don't know that song, that's wasted.
It's
You
wasted.
remember that song? Black
No.
Box, Right on Time?
No.
Right on time.
Okay,
Right,
yeah.
right. Anyway, it was by Black Box, which was nothing to do with a plain recording device. But that's what they do, isn't it? They essentially learn from their mistakes,
Yes.
which is what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So, if any, like, I don't know, I don't need health and safety at the moment because I literally work at home. There probably are things that I can probably learn and do.
But then that's ideal in health and safety at work. So that's then legislation's been brought in for health and safety at work. So then if you're working from home, so for instance, if you're self-employed, working from home on your own, you don't actually need health and safety. You don't need it.
No.
And it sometimes these people go, oh, you need it all the time. Actually, no, you don't. And it's knowing, I go out to visit people and say, actually, you don't need me. You could do this on your own. So,
And
yeah.
is that because I don't know, I mean, when we met, obviously I met you networking and you were
Yeah.
like, oh, I need to talk to this guy. Not because I sell life insurance
Yeah.
but the, well, I pulled up my camera, didn't I? And we had a little interview, like, just to show you what you can and can't do. So, like, obviously we've had a couple of conversations recently about how to make health and safety less boring. So, how, in your mind, like, I mean, what drives people to health and safety? Like, I mean, literally what drives people to?
So, firstly, probably the most important is, yes, you do the courses and you go 3 reasons, legal, moral and financial. But predominantly, a lot of businesses, like the MDs, the bosses of a business, is they are overall responsible for it. So if something goes wrong, then the people at the top are the first people in the dock. So,
Well, and there has been that recent case, isn't there, with the fireworks in the thing where they hadn't had a health and safety or fire safety
for
report.
so many years,
6 years or something.
yeah,
Ridiculous.
and then straight away, then what the authorities will do is then look to the bosses and go, you should have had it in place. Now, a few years ago, what used to happen was if something happened, a company director would go, well, that's the health and safety manager's fault. But then they put in legislation to say, in actual fact, you're responsible.
Yeah, and that's how it should be. They're
Yeah,
100% accountable.
100%.
Well, they're 100% accountable for the business. You know?
So then we find now when we go into clients and stuff like that, and businesses, I don't use the threat tactics because you just go, you don't need to. But the boss is understanding they're responsible. In actual fact, they're the people that will be in the dock. Their company will get the fines if something goes wrong. But actually, those as individuals can go to prison. So, and it's like eye-opening.
Which is a scary thought, isn't it, really?
It is. And even more so is, if somebody owns multiple businesses, they're still responsible for all the businesses, no matter what.
How often do you come across a case where people haven't got those bits in place, or they're a bit blasé about it and they see it as a tick box exercise, or they've been doing it in-house? I'm guessing some stuff you can probably do in-house, can't you?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that tend to go, oh, I've got this off the internet, and for instance, health and safety policy. It's a document legally that you need, and then it's a case of, yeah, we got this off the internet, and I'm reading through it, and it's like, yeah, it's just for a window cleaning company, you're a solicitors,
Yeah.
or something like that. So it has to be bespoke relative to those. So
Like I remember working in kitchens, which is when I worked for a large, we won't mention any names, but a large chain of pubs.
Yep.
That sold quite reasonably priced food.
Yeah,
And reasonably
cheaper
priced
and
drinks.
watered down and stuff like that. Yeah.
But we were, you know, as a
starts with a W.
manager, and I can't comment, but as a manager, you know, we had to go through the kitchen at the end of the day, say it's all clean, it's all tidy.
Yeah.
These bits are all tagged and checked, and I mean, it does become a bit of a tick box exercise. But I will say one thing, that you did feel responsible going out and leaving it. But people are complacent, right? People are complacent, and that's why you're kept in a job, I guess.
Yeah. And it's a case of, the thing being is, if then something did go wrong in that kitchen, for instance, then the health and safety executive would then come in and inspect and then go, right, as a manager of that kitchen or that chef, have those checks been done? Because if they hadn't, and somebody slipped on some oil and stuff like that, then a broken leg, somebody's then off work, the accident then costs the business so much money. And if then it goes so bad, then it's a case of the HSE can get involved, and that can end up with almost like a black mark on your business.
Yeah.
And then that can affect future business because they have things called notifications.
Well, it's higher insurance premiums. It's, more risk to people.
All those, yeah.
And if people know about that, if it's been publicised in a magazine or a paper or something like that, are people going to want to go and work
Social
there?
media, yeah.
Yeah, are people going to go and want to work there? Probably not.
Probably not. And you look.
And it could be a simple, this was missed once, and they could have done it 99% of the time.
And it's that one time.
Exactly, which is tough.
And the thing being is, you mention, and then you go on social media, how many different footages can you see of a forklift truck tipping up, racking, falling? They're all health and safety things, and people laugh at them, but that somebody could be injured after that. Do you know
100%,
what I mean?
yeah. I mean, the racking one is probably the worst, where it's suddenly it's not just all of the stock and everything else that's happened there, because it'll all have to be written off, but actually there's probably a person who's dead or seriously injured under there.
You see it all the time on social media of there's an explosion and somebody's just managed to walk away from it, or somebody gets electrocuted and stuff. And I've put stuff on LinkedIn where I've gone to see and gone, really? Yeah.
I know.
And it's
It could
mad
have been
what people will do, and it goes back to it's common sense.
It is, but then mistakes are made, aren't they? And it could be that those one bits wasn't checked and people are going around. Complacency is your best friend, ultimately, as a health and safety advisor, right? Because you're the one who's coming in every time and checking it and making sure that...
and just making sure. And it's a case of, we go in on an annual basis to visit certain clients, and it's just a reminder for them, making sure everything's up to date.
It's car maintenance, isn't it? It's making sure that you're topping up your tyres, you're topping up your forklift tyres or whatever else you're going to do, because people are by natural complacent. I mean, you do as your... I'm guessing you sometimes come in and write policies for people.
Yeah.
Would that include those tick box exercises that they've got to do, a sheet that they've got to fill out every day for...
Yeah, I mean, it'll first start off with, for instance, the overall document is the policy. And the policy will state what the business does and basically how you're going to manage it. Then from that, identifies doing documents like risk assessments, but also, Tom, your tick box. For instance, you got a forklift truck. Actually, that needs to be inspected externally by somebody, but also then needs training, and then the tick box of, is it working, this, that, and the other. And then, it's amazing how many times we've gone in.
I mean, I'm picturing, like, I've worked in retail and I've worked in, lots of places where they have had forklifts and they have had other products, and you think, well, actually, I'm putting myself in that situation as a health and safety advisor. So I'm putting myself in your shoes, where I'm going around and looking at every single, not violation, but I guess it's probably the right word, but it's an area of improvement where actually that needs to be checked.
Yeah, it's looking at the areas that you think, has that got the potential to cause harm? And if it's yes, then, and it's, for instance, forklift truck, has it been inspected? Do the brakes work? Are the tyres good enough? Because if all of a sudden there's an oil spillage, it hits that and then could squash somebody between, a set of racking, instantly you've got an injury there that's going to cost the business money. So it's those type of things.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And even then back to kitchens, spillages, has the oil been cleared up and stuff like that
And it's, around food safety, not that you're going to get too much involved in the food safety thing as someone else, but, it's, everyone's watched Kitchen Nightmares, where they go and pull out the chicken that's been stored really badly. And I think, like, even now, I can go to my partner's fridge and I'm going, why have you got the chicken on top of the... Like you've got raw chicken and you're just putting cooked meat on top of the... I know it's sealed.
And using the same knife for everything.
No, please don't. Look, and the part of me where I was trained years ago in how to do food safety and, whatever else. It does kick in and it does. But I think it's what my point is. Is there a point where you come across people and the common theme is, oh, it's not going to happen to me, like it does in my job. So in my job, obviously people go, oh, I don't need that just yet, or I'm not going to worry about that. So, it could have been...
Yeah, we get there. I've been doing this 20 years and never had an accident. All right, really? Do you know what I mean? The people working on construction sites, I've been doing this, and then you say to them, well, have you seen anybody else have an accident? Well, yeah.
I know. Oh, my God. It's the worst. When people say... I think I spoke to a guy the other day and he said... oh yeah, you have actually rung at quite an opportune time because one of my friends, got diagnosed with cancer and he's been off work for the last 9 months. And I'm thinking, right, you're a prime candidate for income protection and can see in the benefits of having income protection. Did he do anything about it? No, he's gone, I'll come back to it in a couple of months because he's busy. And I think, are you for real?
And it's...
But it's my job to then make him understand.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same with my job. And you go, you don't take it away from, without the business, the health and safety wouldn't be there. But it's pretty much in most things. And what some people don't realise is, in the event of an accident, how much time. So, back to the forklift truck. If there was an accident, then work would stop. Production would stop. Somebody would have to investigate it. That's the manager. Their time, replacement of the injured person, all those investigations, and
which you can have key person income protection for. Just saying. So that person that there was a forklift. Yeah, well, if he was a forklift operator, I mean, this podcast is about getting to know other people's businesses, but ultimately I have got to promote myself. But that is a prime example of where a forklift driver. How hard is it to find a forklift driver these days?
A good one, really hard.
Yeah, because people don't really know or want to do the qualification anymore. So,
but even more so, how about if the only guy that can operate it is the warehouse manager, right? He then has an accident, the warehouse manager is then off.
Yeah, exactly.
That's even more so.
That's double bubble because you've then got to then recruit someone, which is going to cost probably... best part of 5 to 10 grand.
Well, they call it the iceberg effect.
Yeah.
So in an accident, you might see, say, 2% of the iceberg above the water. That's the cost that you think it would cost. But it's actually about 98% of the stuff under the water that you don't see.
You're going to pay his salary because the accident happened at work. You're not just going to pay statutory sick pay because if you do that, you're going to be open for problems anyway. You're then going to have to pay probably damages, which they're probably insured for. But
no. So insurance companies won't pay. Read the small print. Insurance companies won't pay most things for accidents.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know. I mean, that's not the insurance I deal in, but
it's then a case of they'll go, well, that's a breach of health and safety. Your policy says you won't breach it, and then it's then.
If it was a genuine, accident, and it had all been health and safety checked, I'm guessing they would pay at that point potentially.
Yeah. But again, insurance companies these days, we're finding more and more where people are getting in touch with us and saying, our insurance company have come and inspected our business, and they say we need this, and this. Straight away for us, that's a good thing.
Yeah. 100%.
Business-wise. But it's a case of the insurance company are insuring against the risk of that business.
It's what you were saying earlier about moral, legal.
Legal, moral and financial.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a point when it encompasses everything like that.
Yeah.
And I think, again, not to sort of massively take over or link back to what I do, is people, where you have to have it, you're legally mandated to have that health and safety for anyone over five people. Anyone
but still, some people don't. Yeah.
No, of course, I know, but then they face the consequences afterwards. Yeah. But in what I do with life insurance, if someone dies or someone's off long-term sick, the impact is massively big financially. We discussed it, didn't we, at the time? And I was like, But why is one product, and I'll be honest with you, it's cheap in comparison. It's why do people not value their lives and value other people's lives? I mean, that's
it goes
worry.
back to the first thing: legal, moral, and financial. Legally, they've got to do it. Right? Financially, if they don't do it, then there's an impact to business, future business. But like morally, it's a case of people come to work, and everybody expects to go home. There's only probably one job that doesn't, but that's armed forces. Do you know what I mean? You're going on tour, I've been there, you're going away, you might not come back.
We are going to go back onto that in a bit, because I'm totally intrigued by your army.
Yeah, so yeah.
Army career. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, you send your wife out to work. Oh, God, that sounds like a bit...
Yeah,
can't say that. We've just talked about diversity training. One of you in the partnership goes out. You can see I'm talking
PC.
I'm trying to be PC. One of you in the partnership goes out to work. You'd expect that person to come back as the main breadwinner.
Yeah.
I guess I can still say that.
Still say that, I think.
Then they morally, yeah, they should. And this is another reason. Perhaps I should use that when I'm selling life insurance.
But
morally,
but there you go.
Morally and financially.
I'll go on the construction site, and all of a sudden, there's mandatory things that people will say, right, to work on this site, you need hard hats, boots, high-vis, for instance. But then you're going along, and there's a tradesman using a disc cutter with no safety glasses. And the way I get it across is, I say, you've got kids, yeah? Did you see them this morning? Yeah? Do you want to see them tonight? Well, yeah. Okay.
See, that would scare me. And to be fair, you are what? How tall are you?
I'm 6'9". So.
6'9". If you, that's the sort of thing that would be scary. I would feel terrible saying that to someone without life insurance. You know, have you got kids? Would you expect them to? Do you want to go home and see them? I would feel awful. But in your you are actually right. 100%. You should.
And that's where I go in and say to them, "Have you got kids? Yeah. Do you want to see them?" And even if they go, "Oh, my kids are grown up. I've got grandkids," because one minor thing, a shard of metal glass in the eye, it's the one thing they can't replace. And yeah, as a health and safety guy, ex-forces, you lose a finger, you can do without a finger. You can do without a foot. You can still work, yeah. Still got my digits. But it's a case of, do you know what I mean? You can do without them. But saying to them, eyes, they can't replace eyes. We've come a long way in technology and everything else, but still not at the moment. But that then brings it down to them saying, yeah, in actual fact. And I'm not beating the stick and saying, oh, it's contravention of section of the Health and Safety at Work Act. No. Bring it back. And that's the boring bit of health and safety. But if you bring it back and say, do you like to see your grandkids or your kids?
I know. People, it's the case that everyone knows they shouldn't eat cake, but they do.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. And it's that shame value. Whereas I don't like, it's not, and you're not doing it to deliberately shame them. You're just pointing out because you actually give a shit.
Yeah.
But I like how it's acceptable in a health and safety environment or anything else. But if I was to say that to a client, they'd go, "Oh, I can't believe you just said that to me," and I'd think, well, I did say it to you, but I do actually believe that, and I do genuinely believe that. But it's so hard to say to someone sometimes. You could have cancer or a stroke or whatever else it is.
It's always for you. It's always somebody else, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Oh, it never happened to me and stuff like that.
But it does happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden gone. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. A human body is a human body, right? And it's
it's fragile.
Yeah, exactly. And can you imagine?
Yeah.
Wow, if you lose an eye, that's it. You could probably not do that job.
That's it. Yeah. But, would you employ a forklift truck driver with only one eye?
I don't know. If I legally could, and they'd applied for a job, I wouldn't, because I've done my diversity training. I haven't. But legally, if they applied for the job and they were fit, then possibly, yeah. But I mean, there would be a part of me that would go, no, not a chance. But if they legally can, I mean, can you have a forklift license with one eye?
I don't know.
You're the health and safety man. You should know that.
If I'm the health and safety man, I would go, is this guy trained and competent to operate that piece of equipment? Now, the trainer would go,
I'm just seeing if I
yeah,
can...
yeah. And I can only close one eye, so it's quite weird, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually know now. I mean,
Now,
I can
if you
still
lost
see.
half of that, then you can't physically see. Yeah.
I know, it's a tough one, isn't it? But then, are they going
And
to...
you go, why?
Are they going to
Because
go...
they didn't put my safety glasses on.
Yeah, I know. And that's embarrassing, isn't it?
And I'll give you an instance that I went to a construction site in London, and the site manager, there was 4 people that didn't have a hard hat on, right? It was quite apt because it was a case of, he just walked up and he went, you 4 go home. What? Go home. He said, I'm sending you home for not wearing your hard hat, right? Now, people think, okay, but in actual fact, you picture that guy arrives at home and his missus says, what are you doing here? I got sent home for not wearing my hard hat, so I'm not getting paid today. So you're telling me we're not getting a day's wage because you won't wear a hard hat? And site manager went, she'll give him more grief.
It's a discipline thing, isn't it? But
Yeah,
then...
but more discipline from the missus because she's not getting the money coming in for the family for him not wearing a hard hat.
Could be the opposite way round as well, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah.
It could be a man who's at home while the missus is at work.
It just happens to be 4 blokes.
Oh,
so.
right, okay. That's fine. I'm just... For the purposes of what we just spoke about, it could be a female. Because they're just as capable.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
God, I sound like an arsehole now. James is like, he's digging himself a hole. He's digging himself a hole.
Stop digging.
I'm not doing it with any malice. It's fine. So, what's next for Summit Safety Solutions? What's your plan going into 2026? So, I know we've been talking, haven't we? So,
Yeah.
I know a little bit, but
More of this, because I'm like, it's... I sort of speak to different people, different businesses, and yeah, we all want the business to grow, and we're now fortunate to have been operating 9 years now, so yeah, really, really good. I've got a really good client base. A lot of my clients of them are now good mates as well, actually, but I sort of look on, I've used marketing, not dissing marketing companies much, but I've used marketing companies, and I'm just thinking, like for instance, LinkedIn and going viral and stuff like that, is then do a podcast. And then we're looking on to then start to promote. We do health and safety training, but just getting us out there and doing more videos and stuff like that.
everyone
Video content.
likes, like you said earlier on, everyone likes seeing someone else fail.
Oh, yeah, all the time. And you can
So if
go
you
on,
can point it out, and I think you're, you know...
you can watch so
you
many
look
videos
boring.
online, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Of accidents going wrong and stuff like that.
And
Well,
I
they
said
go
to you, haven't
viral.
I said, because obviously this, like, I put it in everything. Like, this podcast is my journey as well. You know, like we've had very long chats about my journey into what
I'm
I
allowed
do
to say
for a
Costa
living.
Coffee. Well,
Yeah,
Costa Coffee's been out,
in
hasn't
Costa,
it?
yeah, where I look at what I can and can't do, like because this, I mean, running a business is hard, and financial services is hard. But I mean, it's, you know,
But then you
there
go,
are other things
sell
I can
financial
do.
services, and I go, I sell health and safety. Is it a boring amateur? Is it?
It is boring, but I am trying to make it more fun, and
Yeah.
if I can make it successful, then fantastic. But it's about plotting that journey. But I mean, you were saying, you know, Tom, I love that idea that you've just come up with and said, you know, like I said to you, I would stand there with a camera and I'd say, Pat, tell me something boring, or what would happen if
Just instantly, and it was a case of, we met at a networking event, and then I'm walking around and sort of looking at people and going, do I need that lady that bakes cakes? No.
No.
Do I need
you might
that?
do at
I
some
need
point,
that?
though.
Might do.
You
but
might
yeah.
get divorced and remarried again, and then you need a nice cake.
No. Okay, change conversation. Yeah. so it's a case of, but look, when we had the conversation, it was then, hang on, Tom's this one guy that actually I'm interested in talking to. And do you know what I mean? Out of all the room of different people, I was like, you was the one guy that went, actually, we need to have a conversation away from the event. Then first meeting, weren't it? And it was like chat.
But that's part of the reason why I do this. You know, like I actually do care about local businesses. You know, like what I do is sell life insurance and income protection to protect people's businesses in the same way that you do health and safety to protect their business and their livelihood. That is what I do. But I do actually care, and I think what people struggle to see sometimes, or struggle to put out, is that they actually do run a business that cares, and they've got all the services and qualities that everything's out there. And how do you push that out and let people know what you do? You can do that through marketing, or you can do that through social media, or you can do that through SEO by just having a product on offer, which you do quite well at the moment. You know, you get tips on your website and everything else from there. But the next step for you is,
it's just
like you're
pushing.
thinking.
And I've tried multiple different avenues, and people look at the website and stuff like that, and they go, really good. Front page, it's got all the right content. It's short, sharp. That's well and good. But then I'm like, okay, what's the next step? And then it's podcasts, videos, and just going.
The next step's education. I mean, ultimately, you are educating people on what they should morally and legally do to protect them, to protect their financial backing. I mean, ultimately, that is what you're doing. And if people don't like, I'll coin a phrase that someone else has used, Sam. You know, people don't know what they don't know. Yeah. And you know, if you
we have, as harsh as it sounds, right, is if it went to court, your ignorance is no form of defence.
Exactly.
And the thing being is just going in there to help them. And for instance, for us, it's a lot of companies can't afford a full-time health and safety person. A lot of time don't want it, and I say don't need it. So they just need somebody, and rather than getting something off the internet, they're getting a chartered member of ARSH, so a registered consultant, blowing my trumpet, but somebody at the top of the tree, and they're paying minimal cost for that expertise. And all of a sudden, they can pick up the phone, Patrick, I've got a silly question. It's not a silly question because you don't know the answer.
No, and they're paying at the end of the day. You know, they don't feel, and you know, from talking to you, you are a nice person, and I like the fact that, you know, you're not asking them for a huge amount of money, and it's adding that value to what you do. So, you know, knowing that there's someone on the end of the phone, like the reason people have, you know, like private medical insurance, or they have, you know, certain bits that they pay a monthly subscription for, is that they know they can have it any time, and it's done at a reasonable cost. Whereas a one-off health and safety, you know, full audit or a full read is probably quite expensive. I mean, obviously, they've still got to do that as part of their. And
it's a case of what we tend to do is somebody might phone up, and all the time we get, "Hello, is that Patrick? My name's Steve. I've got your number from John. I need health and safety. How much is it?" No idea. I've got no idea whatsoever. What? I said, well, let's come down and have a look at your business. Let's have a look at what you do. Some stuff you can do in-house. The more technical stuff, we'll help with. And then they can go, the tick box. Yes, we can give you the box. You can make sure your forklift truck driver ticks it every day and make sure he does his checks. You can check it once a month, and we'll come in every 6 months or 12 months to make sure it's done. If not, we'll give you direction on how best to manage that. And it's giving them the tools, and each client is different. One estate agent will work different to another estate agent, will work different to office-based solicitors and accountants.
And it is that part of education, and part of what, you know, you'll be able to do with the video from here. Once it goes online, you'll be able to go, we're going to clip that bit was important. But then it's, you know, like, I don't know, well, you've been doing this a long time, but how much video stuff have you done?
I've done 3 videos 4 years ago, actually, because I showed my missus. Shout out to missus. She had to watch through it last night. But even she was like, what, you're on YouTube? And I was like, yeah. That was 4 years ago. Didn't really do a lot, but then this is where, like, I'm like pushing podcasts and little videos to then go out.
It's consistent. Your job is to educate people. Ultimately, same as it is on mine. You know, my, you know, I know we segued a little bit into what I do for a living, but it's like
What do you do for a living, Tom?
me. Basically, I advise small to medium limited companies, a
This
bit
one-
like yourself, on
this
how to put
wasn't-
things like life insurance and income protection for your business as an expense. So, as a company director, you would qualify for things like relevant life, executive income protection, and things like key person insurance as well, which are predominantly tax deductible. But not only
Always
does it
be the
protect
tax
your
man.
family, it also protects your business and your livelihood. That's basically what I do. That's the spiel that I would put out when I do a cold call. But then once you've got that bit out of the way, then we start talking normally, and then you get down to the bare bones, which is where that man said, how much is it? I know I need this, how much is it? Not that I get calls that say that, how much is it? Because, well, you do occasionally, and they go, how much is it? And I'm well, it's dependent on your situation, because if you die, your need for someone else is going to be very different to someone else's need.
Yeah. And it's how long are you along that life journey, and have you got a mortgage? Have you not got a mortgage?
Yeah,
and stuff
exactly.
like
You've got a
that?
30-year-old with 2 kids, or a 50-year-old with no kids and a wife.
up, yeah.
They might have the same needs because their wife might be quite expensive, have expensive tastes.
Yeah.
And if you died, you're going to lose their income. But that's what it's about. But I think people, again, I think probably people everywhere like a tick box, don't they? They like to.
Yeah.
And what I find is when they're doing life insurance, they just want to go, tick, that's done.
Yeah, got it.
The amount of people I speak to and go, yeah, Mum, I've got life insurance. It might only be covering their mortgage, but, you know, and they haven't thought about what happens if they die.
What if?
Well, if
What
you
if
died
I
and your mortgage was paid off, but okay, there's no one to run your business, so who pays for what happens to that business? The income stops. So you might have your mortgage paid off, but what's your wife going to live on if she's reliant on your income? Or your husband? What are they going to rely on if you're not in that business anymore? Whereas we'd be able to provide a relevant life policy that the business would pay for. So essentially, the business, like a death and service benefit, essentially. So it could be 10 times, 15 times your salary, which the business is paying for. It's no skin off your nose, it's just coming out your pre-tax profit.
Before the taxman gets it.
Before the tax, yeah, but that's what a loophole and one of the benefits of being, running a company is that you can take advantage of those situations. That's going to provide you death and service. If you're sick, you don't get sick pay, do you? Like, if you're off sick, what happens to your business? You're kind of screwed, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because you are.
Yeah. You go, you are the face of the business. You are the face of Tom. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You go,
If I wasn't
when you're
here,
ill, when you're man down.
Yeah, well, no, there would be no income coming in, and I'd still have bills. I'd still have debts that I've got to pay. I've still got, to live. Yeah. And it's crippling. That's where income protection comes in, and that's the bits that make. But people don't, put the same value on it as they would health and safety, because it is that tick box exercise where they know legally they've got to have it. Yeah. Legally, you ain't got to have life insurance or income protection. Morally, you should. Yeah. Financially, you definitely should. But it's that legal bit. If we could only
I think you're now taking on the legal, moral, and financial of how.
I am going to take that approach. Yeah, I like it. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, thanks.
No, but I think you're.
But it's the 3 areas. And you got so legal, moral, and financial. Legal works for us, but doesn't work for you.
No.
Morally, and then financially, it's then looking up. Yeah.
Legally, you should, because you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't leave someone in a I've had conversations with people where they've, I've said hypothetically, 2 shareholders, me and you run a business, right? Sorry to sort of segue, but I'm going to cut this bit up. It's what goes on behind the scenes in a podcast, man. So, me and you run a business. 50-50. What happens if I die? Do you know what happens if I died?
No.
So my ex-wife, or no, my current wife, who I've been estranged from for 8 years, would inherit my shares of the business.
Would
50%.
Would that hurt?
I wouldn't know what hurt me. I'll be dead. It might hurt you, because she might suddenly then demand that she comes and works in the business, and that she's got rights, voting rights, whatever else she wants to do. Yeah. But actually, at that point, what do? You might not want her in the business because she's got no experience. Alternatively, she might have no idea what to do and just want to be bought out. Yeah. Say our business was valued at £1 million. Have you got the funds to buy her out for £500,000?
I suppose that's where I benefit, because I started up the business. sort of the
But if we went
shareholder,
into it 50-50.
yeah, get it 100%. Yeah,
So have you got £500,000 to pay her out?
no, and it's
No, and then you've also got a moral obligation because you started a business with them.
yeah,
Because you said to them, oh, we're going to continue to make profit, but he had a moral obligation, I had a moral obligation not to die, but unfortunately I
but
did.
you're gone. Yeah.
But I did. So, that situation's got to be sorted out. And then what happens? And that's where, but they take out things like shareholder protection that will cover those bits where the company pays for the policy to buy the shares out, so it's then retained by the business and the directors. That's where the shareholding comes in.
I suppose that's where I benefit at the moment, being...
Well, you're on your own, so you got employees, but it's if you died, I mean, it's the same like what we were saying earlier on. You can't replace your eyes, you can't replace this, but it's having those plans in place. And part of what I do is added value in terms of what we do. We offer that advice, and we say, you should have a will, you should have this, you should have.
So it's amazing.
Power of attorney.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people have not got a will.
I can't say nothing. I ain't got a will, but that's because it's been complicated in the background where I've
But the thing being is, okay,
but I still should have. Morally, I should. Yeah,
you should. But because the thing being is, that's your intent. Some people I've got nothing to leave to anybody. But would you sooner go to somebody in the
Don't matter
family?
if you've got kids. Because, what happens? I mean, potentially, the
Because the government.
wards of the court, don't they? I mean, your kids are potentially, homeless.
Yeah.
In reality, it doesn't happen like that. But I mean, if it does, or there's not anyone to look after them, what happens?
Because I mean, I've always had a will. We're digressing a little bit, but I've always had a will and paid extra money to then always be able to change it whenever I wanted.
Yeah.
Because your life changes. Yeah,
of course.
You then get divorced a couple of times, and then it's then a case of you go, actually, who do you want to leave your money to, and that changes.
It's a tough one, to be honest.
Tom, you
with you.
need a will.
I know I need a will, but I need a lot of other things to sort in the meantime. And now I'm going to sound like exactly one of my clients. I'll sort it later on. And I will, I'm at a point where it's, it just gets complicated, and I think that's the hard part. But I mean, so I think we have got to sort of finish up in a sec. But I mean, like in terms of how people can find you, if anyone needs health and safety, how would they find you?
Probably the easiest way, go onto our website, www.summitsafetysolutions.co.uk. That has all the contact details.
If we Google, I actually Googled you the other day, and you do come up. I think you're like top in Portsmouth or top in Portsmouth. So you've done well on your SEO there. So that's good. Health and safety. So
it's one of those. Yeah, have you ever Googled yourself and then how high you are? And thankfully, thank you to LinkedIn, because that puts my profile up quite a bit.
Yeah.
But this is why in 2026 I want to.
But look out for Pat's videos on LinkedIn.
Yeah, because
they are going to be good.
They're going to be on there. That's the next stage, and then hopefully it takes me.
I've got plans for Pat where I'm going to say, well, I'm not going to spoil any of it, I think, but we're going to find some.
2026?
2026, yeah, it's a big year for all of us. Anyway, thanks, Pat, for coming in. If you'd like to find Patrick on LinkedIn, it's Patrick Sansom, and then there's some letters after his name.
Lots of letters, yeah.
Lots of letters. I don't have any. But yeah, thanks for watching again. And again, like I said, if you like this, like and subscribe, and buy your life insurance from me as well. So there you go. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.